Hi, I'm Bob Christ, and welcome to Wet and Wild French Polynesia. We're in the middle of a tropical squall, so I thought I'd take the time to introduce you to some of the films that we're going to see. 20 years ago, I had a dream assignment in this area. I had an assignment from National Geographic Traveler magazine to photograph the islands of Bora Bora and Moorea. And after 40 years of shooting, those two assignments remain two of my very favorites, and I've been trying to get back to this area ever since. Well, I'm back here now, aboard the Paul Gaugin, a small luxury cruise ship, and one of only 2 or 3 boats that are allowed to cruise through the small harbors and islands of French Polynesia. Now this itinerary is very special because we're going to the northernmost archipelago in French Polynesia, a group of islands called the Marquesas. Now the Marquesas are steeped in culture and history and have been a magnet for artists and writers for centuries. Herman Melville was here, Jack London, Robert Louis Stevenson, James Michener, as well as the painters Paul Gaugin and the famous Belgian singer Jacques Brel. They all were drawn by these fascinating islands, and we'll be visiting at least 4 of them, as well as a couple of the stalwarts in the societies in the Tuamotus. So stick with me here aboard the Paul Gaugin as we visit the beautiful archipelago of French Polynesia.
The Marquesas are located near the middle of the vast Pacific Ocean, some 800 miles northeast of Tahiti and 2,500 miles south of Hawaii. These islands are steeped in myth and are called Te Henua Anata in the Marquesan language, which means the land of men. In 1937 and 38, Norwegian anthropologist and adventurer Thor Heyedahl and his wife lived for a year and a half in Fatu Hiva, first in Omoa and then out in the countryside. He had been officially commissioned by the University of Oslo to investigate the distribution of animal species among the Polynesian islands. But his personal goal on this trip, which was also his wedding trip, was to sail the South Seas and never return. Heyedahl and his wife lasted about a year and a half on the island, but his romance with the South Pacific had just begun, and his famous epic voyage on the Kon Tiki raft was still years away. Even in the 21st century, it took us almost 3 days of sailing to reach Fatu Hiva from Tahiti. We received a warm welcome on landing in Omoa, one of the 2 towns on Fatu Hiva. And since we were temporarily increasing the island's population of 600 by almost half, we split into 2 groups. My group immediately boarded 4x4s to make the 11-mile trip over the ridge to the second town, Hanaveve, also known as the Bay of Virgins. The road is such that most islanders make the trip by boat because it's faster. Fatu Hiva is the most southern island in the Marquesas, and also the wettest, the lushest, and the most isolated of the inhabited islands of this archipelago. After cresting the ridge, our guide Michael took us to his home for some fruit, refreshments, and, truthfully, to let our pulse rates return to normal after that harrowing drive. We poked around the beautiful little harbor of Hanaveve for an hour or so. And got a close look at some of the tiki statues and rock formations that give the area its nickname. And we also met a few of the local artists. Back in Omoa, the villagers had set up a market showing off their colorful textiles and tapa cloths. A jam session was in full swing near the end of the arcade. Almost everyone was really into the music, but they had some stiff competition from the outside world. This is the island of tapa cloth, where plant fibers are transformed into fabric. The patterns and drawings are often inspired by traditional Marquesan tattoos. And they also make umuhi, perfumed flower crowns which impregnate the hair with floral aromas. In addition, they make monoi, a scented oil from the essence of these flowers. We headed back to the ship in the late afternoon because the captain had promised us a scenic sunset voyage along the western shore of Fatu Hiva, from Omoa to Hanaveve, the Bay of Virgins. He said it was one of the most picturesque coastlines in all of the Pacific. And as we sailed past the magnificent formations and mountain ridges in the golden light of the setting sun, I really had to agree with him.